Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Grimm, and what I am running is called Grimm's Con. Where Grimm's Con would came from is because you've got paracons, horror cons, you've got all sorts of names of cons. So I figured I'd just go with something of my own, Grimm's Con, because Grimm has been a childhood nickname meaning undying will not give up. And my family motto is all in or nothing at all. Has been since I was a child. So I figured I would keep that going in my life coaching business. Where reemergence came from, I've heard the whole rise from the ashes like Phoenix. Don't get me wrong, I love that, but too many people are using that coin phrase. We're a phoenix rising from the ashes. So I'm like, okay, I want to try something that nobody's doing. So one day while I was in Bellingham, Washington, and it's kind of, and I was walking down to the beach where I usually go hang out in the afternoon for my lunch break. It's only about 30 minutes from where I worked at, so it was perfect. So I sat down there and I asked the universe for a guide. They sent me a snail. I'm like, of course I questioned it. I was mad as hell. I'm not going to lie. I did get mad. I'm like, why a snail? And out of the blue, it felt like, as they say, energetically, when we would smart off to our mom or grandma, get tapped in the head. And I had a full size backpack on, 80-pound backpack. And felt like I got smacked in the head. My body hit the ground. I was like, oh God. I was like, that's got to be my grandpa's spirit doing that because he's about the only one that could knock me on my butt like that. I stood up, and I hear in my head, listen. You still don't listen, I see. You still don't accept what's right in front of you given to you freely. I'm like, hey, yep, that's grandpa. I'm a spirit medium, so I have capabilities of seeing them and feeling them, and it's not always fun at times, but I stood there for a minute and watched this snail, and it was like I was taken to the Amazon spiritually and saw a snail in the Amazon. They're about this big. This snail was only about like this, but the snail in Amazon, it climbs a tree, goes up a tree, suspends its shell with some type of weird webbing of something. I don't know what it is, like an ooze or something, and it goes in its shell for about 6 to 7 months, and it reemerges, comes out to a moth about like this, a snail of all things. And I'm like, is that real? So I looked it up and found out it's a very real thing. So I got the message reemerge. From there, I started designing reemergence, but I was already on the life coaching path. I was already there healing, but part of me wasn't ready to let go. Part of me, and it was right after, matter of fact, it was right after my divorce. All this went down that I got this vision and all that. I divorced November 1st last year, and I was back in Washington, and my body wasn't ready to let go of the ex. So that's what was stopping me. The wall that was stopping me was those emotions I still had for her. So as time went on, I got to a point where I tried to pull the bad thing, run from self. Doesn't work. And me being a life coach, me having the skill set I have, I know better than that. And I finally got to a point where nobody was there to help me. It's like the universe goes, okay, you're going to neglect the gift we give you. Be like, parent, we're going to take everything from you. So they did. The universe got me to a point where I had nobody I could reach to. I had to rely on myself. And I finally fell to my knees emotionally where I was camping out in Washington, stared at the sky and said, oh, I cursed. I did. I said, what the fuck do you want from me? I've given you everything, every piece of who I am. I gave, I literally walked away from the best thing I ever had in my life, my marriage. Didn't walk away from it. She called it off. I said, look, you've taken everything from me. What do you want? And what's ironic is I turn, I look on the shoreline and there's a snail sitting there. And I'm like, I was frustrated. So I'm like, okay, what do you want from me? And my grandpa appears in front of me. He goes, the universe just wants complete surrender from you. That's all it wants. You want to be happy, don't you? I said, yes. He goes, right here. Stop looking for it out here. He goes, reemerge. So that night I went to sleep. It started pouring rain. So in my campsite, I had to pull my tarp out, because I don't sleep with a tent. I sleep on a blanket with a tarp around me. So that's what I did. And when I woke up the next morning, even though it had rained, there was no water on the ground. That's the weirdest thing. No water on the tarp. I'm like, Huh. So from there, reemerge got put off to the side. It just sat there for a little bit until I started finding myself more. And then it's a couple weeks ago that somebody finally says, "Hey, Joe, when you can run your own conference? You've been talking about it for a while." And then another friend the day afterwards says, "So I take it you reemerged from that cocoon that the universe put you in." I'm like, from there, it was time to design it, time to bring it out. First day, I got 14 people ready for it. Second day, I had 23 and a half hours in. I've got 47 or 37 people already for the event. 4 days later, I've got 60 plus people. I'm like, I'm impressed what I can do. So I literally created Reemergence. So each one of us, there's people that are going to be at this event from international psychics, book authors, healers, paranormal, I mean, all sorts of walks of life. And at the end of the day, realizing that we are all healers at the end and we've all went through something. So that's why Reemergence came to be. I didn't want it to be like everybody else's event where you have just set paranormal investigators, set healers. No, I wanted everybody to come together because at the end of the day, me looking at all these cons that I've been to, Paracon, HorrorCon, Paracon, Paranormal Con, HorrorCon, horror movies, Comic Con, I'm watching how all these people are separate at these events. Haven't seen one event where they recognize everybody. Grammys, Oscars, that's one thing. But bringing an event together that recognizes everybody for every modality that we use in our life to get to where we're at. So GrimmsCon was born. GrimmsCon also born something else out of it. Toward the end of this show, when it ends in September 3rd, oh, that's just the beginning. That's not the ending. That's just another chapter because there's going to be what's called Grimm's Round Table. Grimm's Round Table is going to be what healers want to come back to it and sit there and talk about what we do, where we're all talking, whether it be Facebook Messenger, whether it be Zoom, whether it be Facebook Live or TikTok, because on TikTok you can bring 9+ people on. So that's what I want to do is create a panel, not 60+ people, but create a panel of like maybe 9 or 10 people, but rotate them out though. Let different people come on and talk about what we do at the end of the day. That's what was born out of Reemergence, was Grimm's Round Table. Grimm's Round Table's been around for years, but I've only ever used it once when I ran a Paracon years ago. So Reemergence is reborn as born, cultivated, and out of it has birthed some interesting people and has honestly brought some emotional pain with it that I needed to heal. Because layers upon layers, as I like to quote one of my favorite movie, Shrek, ogres have layers. They're like an onion. You have to peel back the layers. It's like when you take thank you, universe. I'm staring at my friend's motorcycle here that he's got in pieces right here, but it's interesting when I watch him take it apart. It's like taking a piece of yourself out, putting it off to the side, cleaning it. You're gonna have to put it back together eventually, or else it's just gonna sit there and draw dust. And then what? You're no good to yourself or anyone because you've grown so much dust, so much roots, you can't go anywhere. So that's what GrimmsCon is about. Reemergence is cutting back, peeling back, tossing back all of those old pieces of us that don't resonate anymore. So that's what GrimmsCon is. Reemergence, diving deeper into our shadow self. Now to carry on, I would like to introduce Claudia Granger. What I know of her is she's a world-renowned psychic, author, if I recall it, and been doing this for a very long time. Welcome on, Claudia.
Hi, thank you so much, Joseph, for having me today on your roundtable of re-emergence. Yes, I've been around for a while. I've been doing this work for over 40 years now, first in Germany and now in America since 1999. That makes it here in America now 26 years. And I came down into this world a conscious being, conscious medium, meaning I remember when I made a decision before coming here and incarnating and condensing down to make the decision to come as a female, as a German, having these parents, they volunteered. And when I came down, when we condense down, we forget a lot of things. So for me, it was a re-emergence as well, in a way, over the years. But as you're talking about the re-emergence from dark times, definitely everyone in their lifetime has dark hours and dark times. What I like to do in my practice, whether it's as a medium where I talk to spirits, and I've been featured on several TV shows, especially a haunting show like Phantom Room and Horror Vision. That's in a series number 8, episode I think 10 or 11. Ah, so long ago. Anyway, several ones haunting in the heartland. So I've been seeing a lot of dark spirits and exorcise them. But what I found important is that people learn to look at their own darkness and then lighten the load, cleansing, clearing. And what I wanted to do for today's show, as I do a lot of healing work and career coaching, but that's not important right now. What I want to do for your show is to invite the listener to learn some of the tools I use and not just to focus on the darkness, but actually letting the light in. So, if you do not mind, beside talking about me and my career and what I all did and what I'll do, yes, I do a lot of meditation work free of charge on YouTube channel at Claudia Granger and events like this quite a lot. But what I really am passionate about is the viewer, the listener, you. What can you do when you're not feeling good? And here are some things my guiding ones shared over the years. So the first exercise they're shared with me is the golden light meditation, which is super, super simple. Everyone can do that, not even when you have the slightest idea about spirituality. And what comes in handy is that we have creativity, we have thought. So we can utilize our mind to shift things. And the first exercise is about envisioning you have a sun over your head, like our golden sun in our solar system here, and one
Okay.
ray goes from the brain, eyes, nose, mouth, and so on through your whole body and through the feet into the ground like roots, and then from your heart into your aura, your electromagnetic field. This is the first exercise I use on my fast track to your psychic abilities so that people can reconnect with their higher self and their soul self, because the soul frequency is gold. And I would entice you to do that once in a while, maybe even daily, so that you're not bothered by other people's low vibrational frequencies. And as we're all emerging to the higher vibration levels these days, the earth is resonating on higher frequency. We are bombarded by the electromagnetics from the solar, from the sun. So we also have to heighten our vibration. And this golden light meditation is one of the easiest and very effective first tools. But I don't want to do that only over me. So, Joseph, what are your questions for me today?
First and foremost, thank you for sharing. And then when you said those paranormal shows, you said Haunting in the Heartland. I'm familiar with that one. Very familiar. It's one of my favorites, actually. Wow. It's like you said, you can talk about what you've done all day long. You can talk about, hey, I've exercised this house, I've helped these people. My grandpa used to always tell me, he says, we can talk about what we've done in the past all day long. But he goes, it's not my great grandpa was a little bit more would he'd be like, Raymond, be like, yes, Dad. My great grandpa popped off. He goes, "You talk about what you do all day long from your past. You've been a NASCAR driver, you've been a painter, you've done this, you've done that." He goes, "Okay, now to be rude to my grandson," he goes, "it don't make any squat of a difference if you're not changing what's happening in your life now. You're not changing the person you are here." He goes, I like how he put it, forgive my cussing. This was my grandfather's exact words. He goes, "An asshole's an asshole at the end of the day." I'm like, huh? He goes, "Short version, my son." I go, "This, I mean, my grandson." He goes, "Short version." He goes, "You can take a lot of hits from somebody. I know you can. I've seen you do it, physical and emotional." He goes, "You blow my mind how you bounce back." He goes, "But are you truly bouncing back? Or are you actually working on your heart? Are you working on, I use a lot of props. Are you using on taking and separating those painful pieces, cleaning them, looking at them, saying, 'Oh, that's dirty. I got to clean this before I can put it back together'?" He goes, "Because if you put that water bottle back together," that's what he used in front of me. He says, "If you put that water bottle back together and it's dirty, you go to drink out of, guess what? It's going to taint you. It's going to make you sick physically, emotionally, spiritually." He goes, "Whatever it is we do in our life will make us sick." He goes, "You can have a good, great mind, perfect, clean heart. That don't mean crap if your soul's stained." I was like,
And
whoa.
that's my guiding ones came up with one of these exercises where they call it the instantly feel better method or the Wuna method. And that's the first part of our dual cleansing, clearing, letting go of emotional baggage part. So what you do is, let's say you have a physical pain or an emotional pain or a really bad memory which bubbles up, let's say in a conversation, and you can do this very fast. Excuse yourself, go to the bathroom, for example, if you don't want anyone to witnessing what you're doing, and tune into that pain, lean into that pain, and tune into your body and see where it sits, talking about cleansing and clearing the water bottle. See yourself, your body as a water bottle, and see where the dirt sits, where the imprint sits, where the difficulty sits, because our energy system, even the physical body, um, retains these imprints. So then next step is give it a color from shape and temperature. Color from shape and temperature triangulates in the brain where this feeling is connected in the brain-body connection. And then you do 21 rapid eye movements. It's very simple. You close your eyes and you move your eyes to the very right, counts as 1, very left counts as 2, very 3 counts as right counts as 3, 4, and so on, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So just for you to follow as an example. And then you breathing wherever this imprint sits, from let your stomach, your knees, wherever, into your heart, because it needs to be acknowledged in your heart before you can let it go. And you say something like, "I acknowledge you, you needed to be there, but I do not need you anymore." In your mind's eye, you're breathing it in, breathing it out, breathing it in, breathing it out 8 times. And then you repeat the rapid eye movement for 21 times, as if you would say with your eyes, "No, no, no, I do not want to have the expert energy back." 21 times, that's important. And then you will notice that the color from shape and temperature in the area where the blockage sits has been changed. It might have a different color, it might have a different form, it might be more translucent, less dense, smaller, more evaporated. It might, the temperature might be cooler or hotter, depending on what's going on. And that's part 1 of the exercise. And then you say to yourself, to your higher self and subconscious, "See, we have the power to change things." And that's the part 1. And then we go into the past, because our body changes every 7 years. Nevertheless, we have scars. That means all cells give information to new cells. That means we can tunnel through the cellular memory bank and go and check out what the first root cause is. And for the people who have been in multidimensional understanding, we can also say whatever the root cause is from other lifetimes, not just this one. So let's say the difficulty sits in your stomach, then you tune into the area of your discomfort and tunnel through with the directive, show me the first context, show me the first root cause. And then you will see what's going on. Let's say somebody was mean to you, or somebody yelled at you, or somebody said, oh, you're not worth anything, or you cannot do anything, something demeaning, whatever it might be. And then you ask, what did I need in this situation to feel and be my best? And what did the other party need to feel and be their best without having the need to put me down or whatever it is what they were doing to you? And then you translate the whole thing into color frequency, healing frequency. Why? Because the whole universe ultimately consists of color and sounds, swinging atoms, the table, the chair, your body. And then you're bringing in the color frequencies from the universal oneness into the top of your head, through your whole body. And then you let it overflow from today to yesterday and the day before, all the way down to the time it happened. Like a little root, and there will be feeder roots along the lines which will nurture all the incidents along your life which have been had this theme or had been impacted by this theme. And then you let your younger self being filled with the healing frequencies. And when your younger self is full, then you let it overflow from the younger self into the opposing party. And then from the opposing party also into all the people who were secondarily involved. For example, ancestor lineage, father's lineage, mother's lineage, or the teacher, family lineage, or whoever made a person the way they were mean to you or did a horrific thing to you. And then you will see while you're letting the color frequency flow. And even if you think, how can I do that? I don't see things. The moment you think it and you send an intention, it's already flowing. Energy goes where attention is focused. And when you're thinking about these things and you're closing your eye and you're have these images emerge and bubbling up and you send the light there, it will flow. And you will feel the energy, how strong it flows. And then the inner picture will change of your incident. And then you can ask how many percent have been cleansed and cleared by this particular healing frequencies. And if it's over 65%, you can go to the next step. But if it's only 20%, you have to ask, what else would I need to clear to come towards the 65% marker? And another image will bubble up, and you do the same thing, bring the energy of healing frequencies in color. Color is neutral. So when you bring color through you, you are not impacting somebody negatively. You're just balancing something out. You're bringing it into frequency equilibrium. You're not pushing it over somebody. You're just giving them the opportunity to heal themselves, even if it's in their so-called past. Because ultimately, this is the theater play of life, and it's artificial. And we as souls have signed up for this, believe it or not. We have signed up for the circumstances to learn, like an actor signs up for a theater play. The soul signs up for a theater play of life. And then later we can check with the future how our healing session with ourselves has impacted our future. We're just looking in a different direction and check that out. But again, I give you the word back. Joseph, what else would you like to know or share from your
That's
grandpa?
that's mind blowing how you put it, because it made me think of a something I created a while back that I put together, and I haven't really, kind of like reemergence. As I created something, I set it on a shelf and left it sit there for a while. It's called Celic Dragon Breathing Method, something I created. Of course, I use medical marijuana because I have a whole left side of my body in pain. I was ran over 4 years ago by a truck, and I don't take pain pills. I don't like ibuprofen because it hurts me. So I use medical marijuana every now and then. And I was sitting there. I hadn't even lit my bowl yet. Probably about 3 years ago, I created this. Hadn't even lit my pipe yet. Hadn't even loaded it yet. And something knocked me out of my chair I was sitting in onto the floor, and I laid there going, "Ow!" And it was like I was taken back to when my body, the whole pain in my left side. I ended up with a fractured ankle, 3 breaks in my tibia, where also 2 breaks in tibia where the bone cracked from the inside out, crushed hip, crushed kneecap, crushed pelvis, flatline 4 times. But that pain when I got to the hospital, I was in excruciating pain. Like not a bright man, I took the cast off 3 days later and went back to work and have problems now because of me not listening to my doctor. In that time period, I was laying there on the floor and I'm like, ow. And what added insult to injury, I had my notebook sitting up on top shelf I'd been looking for 4 days. That notebook actually sits inside now where I stay at now. It fell off the top shelf and smacked me straight in the face. I'm like, okay, next. Pen comes down. I caught it like this. I'm like, and what I got in my head was right. I opened my journal up and I start writing, and I just sat there and I poured out the Selic Dragon. Selic is my business. SELIC. It stands for Strategic Emotional Analyst Life Intelligence Code. But instead of putting that down the open, I just made it C. The C is pretty much licking you. You're feeling energy from the sea. You're feeling energy from wherever you go. So I created it, and it just sat there for a while and didn't move. And I finally launched it probably about a year ago online, and it's still sitting there. And you talking about the method you use, I did the whole the rapid 21 eye movement. That's why you saw me grab that side of the trail. I was like, now that was intriguing because I felt when I hit 7, it felt like something was grabbing my feet like this and pulling. I felt like roots going out of my feet, and I'm like, it was not a secure feeling for me because I'm sitting already in a chair that's fairly secure, but I was sitting on a slope. That's why I shift, because part of the ground is like this. So part of the chair is like this. It's actually like this, but it feels like I'm like this when I'm like this, actually. So it felt like the whole ground shifted. And when I had my eyes closed, no joke, the ground completely fell away and I opened my eyes. But spiritually, I opened my eyes. I watched the ground just disappear. I'm like, oh God. And I free fell and I landed back in my own body. And after I opened my eyes, I was like, oh boy, this is what just happened. I'm like, I'm like, I didn't know how to react to it. I've never experienced anything like that before. Not quite to that caliber. And it was very helpful, enlightening. I will definitely integrate that in what you just showed me into my healing, my meditation I do every night. I meditate every night and every morning. So my biggest question is, granted, yeah, like my grandpa said, I can ask you what you've done in your past, but what is it that you have done? So you say you've chosen lessons, which I agree. I remember coming to Earth. I remember choosing parents I had, choosing to be in the body I'm in, choosing the mental problems I have. I remember all of that. I remember every past life I've ever existed, and that's been a lot of lives. And I'm not just talking Earth lives. I come from a place called Fiera. It's Earth Prime. It's the first ever Earth. So I remember everything, all my lives from there up to a point that the universe decided to get. When I decided to push back against universe gave me what it gave me many lifetimes ago, where it cursed me with immortality. Not this lifetime, but there was a few lifetimes I couldn't die. You could shoot me, stab me, you weren't going to kill me. Everybody glorifies immortality. It's a gift. No, it's not. It's cursed because you have to watch everybody around you die, and then you have to learn all these lessons. So I remember 5,000 years of not dying. I remember finally being able to die. June 6th, 1944 is when the universe decided to finally let me die. Physically, spiritually, finally, I got to move on. No, 37 years later, I'm born again. June 6th, 1981. June 6th, 44 was D-Day, that we stormed the beaches in Normandy, a turning point in history. I was there for it, and I died. I hadn't even got off the boat yet and got shot directly in the face. I remember it. It was kind of ironic because I got hit in the face years ago where I was shot right here, and I still have a scar there. People ask me, when did you get shot in the face? I went, wait, what? Had a doc do an exam of it. He says, it feels like you got a bullet tore through your bone. He goes, but you've never been shot in this lifetime. I go, I don't know. So I went to a past life regressionist, and she helped take me back. And oh, I freaked the hell out when I found out just where I came from, every life I've lived. I freaked out. I wanted nothing to do with the healing role. I wanted nothing to do with anything with it because it scared me. It did. This role that I live in now, spiritually, the things I can do where I can, if I concentrate hard enough and I focus my mind, I don't need one of those singing bowls. I am the bowl. I can create the harmonics out of me. I can open portals and open dimensions and pull out healing. Now I'm like, okay, it's cool. I can do this. Back then, when I first started doing it, I was scared out of my mind. I didn't know what to do. And it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago, no, not that far back, about three and a half years ago, ironically, was on Facebook, stumbled upon your profile. I'm like, okay, universe. My computer locked, wouldn't let me move your profile. It would let me it'd let me look at things on your profile, but it wouldn't let me close it out. I'm like, okay, universe, why? I was awake, but I was still awake, but I was still at that point, I was questioning the universe, not surrendering. That night I went to sleep, woke up the next morning, my computer's still on your profile. I'm like, okay, why? Finally, guess what? Grandpa and great grandpa up here spiritually. You're still not learning. We see you still years. I see. I'm like, okay.
Well, and
He said,
that's why I created this program for people like you who have these talents and who have these powers, but they're scared of it. I created this fast track to your psychic abilities, or also known as soul alignment training, where one can build on top, step by step, module by module, onto one's power and how to use it safely, because oftentimes when people channel, and obviously you channel too, you write and what all you do, it can be scary. And people ask me all the time, is it safe? Well, it is as safe as you make it for yourself. Sometimes things can take people over if they have a key, a key lock principle hole where something can come in, yes. But fear in channeling is never a good advisor. So in this training, I help people to feel safe in what they're doing, what they're seeing, what they're sensing, what they're feeling, and how this works. I'm on my third part of my mission right now, explaining how spirit works. And so there's a lot of explaining why your gifts work, how they work, how you can make your gifts better. And in module 4, we have channeling, 3, we have how to meet your guides. We learn how to heal in various forms. And then very important, module 6 about cleansing and clearing, everything clearing, including spirits out of a house, or ghosts, or even demons, or clearing a whole area, working with earth energies, cleansing and clearing, huge module. But I can totally understand when you have so many gifts and all of a sudden they're activated. Wow, that can be absolutely overwhelming.
the first gift I was born with, well, that I came to this world with, was my spirit medium ability. I had, first of all, I want to say thank you for all that. You would have gotten along great with I had the privilege of being in this lifetime, being around my fifth great grandma up until about 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 years, 15, 16, 18 years ago. She lived to be 121. So my fifth great grandmother, I had the privilege of being around all the grandmothers, except one, third great grandma. And you would have gotten along with them great because they were healers. They were true Reiki healers, not the stuff they teach here in the States. I mean, the stuff that you have to go to Thailand or China for. The stuff that was originally, when Reiki was first came around, wasn't what people think it is. It was used as a weapon. It was used as an energy weapon to bring the. It wasn't used so much as a weapon. It was used to protect. It was used to use that source energy to tap into, where you could just go like this to somebody and bring them to their knees. That's what it was originally used for. What then? Listening to you, the whole demonic exorcisms, cleansing. I grew up in the world of the paranormal. I did the world of the paranormal up until 2 years ago, from the time I was 4. So I was in that world for a long time. I did 38 years in that field. I've cleansed homes. I've taken on demons. I've taken on spirits. Hell, I've even got to a point where family member was demonically possessed, and it doesn't scare me to say the name anymore. His name was his
Doesn't
name
matter.
was hmm?
Uh, it's okay.
His name was Azeroth. It doesn't scare me anymore. I had to literally drop to my knees at 12 years old just because I have an ability to bring. I'm a channeler, but I'm a different type of channeler. I have a unique ability. If you remember the movie Freaky Friday, where mom and daughter switch places, I have an ability where I can emotionally possess somebody, where I can literally go into deep meditation and put my spirit into them. And that's what I had to do to help my grandfather out because he got possessed by this demon. So I had to put myself into him. Granted, it's a risk. I put my spirit into him, and I took that demonic essence into me. I didn't destroy it. When I took it into me, I came to and I'm standing what looked like, we'll call it the Matrix. It's the first time I experienced what you would call the Matrix. I'm looking around and I'm like, a completely blank white room. I'm like, what the hell? He's standing there and he's going like this. He can't use any of his abilities, can't use his demonic possession. He's in human form. I'm like, he goes, what'd you do to me? I go, stopped you. I go, if I have to remain here for the rest of my days to keep you away from humanity, I will. He tried everything to hurt me, couldn't. Stab me. He couldn't do anything because he was a human. He wasn't a demon. So I gave him the worst possible gift he could ever have. I made him human. It'd be like taking Freddy Krueger and making him a human being where he can't hurt you in your dreams anymore. Same concept. And I could hear my grandpa saying, Joe, come on. I managed to keep that thing trapped there for probably about 10 years. Physically keep a demon trapped. I didn't, the universe did. And what happened was I didn't close the portal, as they say, like I needed to. He escaped. 10 years later, he killed my great grandpa and my mentor. Looked like they're having a heart attack. No, it's kind of hard to call it natural when they cut the body open and you see a burned handprint on the inside of the chest. That's not natural. So he decided to hit back. It was that point right there. I wanted nothing to do with paranormal. Wanted nothing to do with my gifts. I pretty much went everybody and stayed away for 18 years. I stayed away successfully away from the paranormal. I got into life coaching, became a yoga instructor, all sorts of things in my life, and paranormal came a calling. The same demon possessed someone else. I was called back. I was brought back from the dead, and I helped this little girl. Her and her family helped get the demon out of her. And right when I pulled it out of her, it identified itself to me. I said, I remember you. Instead of hitting him with rage vengeance, I helped exercise him, cleanse the environment, came back in the paranormal. I stayed in for another year and a half, took on an investigation of the lakes that only me and one of my teammates were ready for. There was four of us. We took on a house kind of like the one behind me here, a little bit smaller, but it was full on demonic infestation. You could walk up the property and I could see them, the demons literally crawling all over it. But I was arrogant. We had our first hunt, so I was happy. But at what cost? It darn near got my teammate killed. It darn near cost me my cousin, darn near cost me the gal I was with. Even though she's gone, not ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, but it cost me a lot because I wanted my team to experience something. I was arrogant. I was ego. I felt like I was felt like I was a teenager again on my first hunt. At what cost though? It destroyed my team, and I canceled the team out about 6 months later and retired and stayed away from it since. I stayed away from paranormal for a while now. It's
Mhm.
not I'm afraid of it. It's my
Well,
arrogance.
sometimes
Me.
we are confronted with these sort of beings, um, and we don't even know it in the beginning. It's sometimes very dangerous if you're in a pickle or in a very difficult scenario and you ask, somebody help me, anyone help me. And sometimes we invite something in which we really didn't mean to invite. Sometimes something responds. I've seen it in my own family when a person of my family was fleeing in front of the Russians in the World War, and they had nothing to eat. They had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. And so these words were spoken: somebody, something, help me. And so something appeared, a demon appeared, and it helped until it didn't, until it destroyed almost a family. And so it can happen very easily that we invite something without even consciously doing it. So always think with intention when you ask for help, ask your well-meaning ancestors, ask high frequency beings, ask well-meaning beings. Don't just ask anything, anyone for help. That was a learning lesson which had to be learned in my family. But the good thing is what you described, that you can tune into people, or you took that demonic thing on and you did something there. Something very similar had happened to me, where my guiding ones showed me how to do exorcisms. And it is very similar also to how Catholic Church does it, only that the Catholic Church does it, there are 2 to 3 people involved, when they oftentimes do it when it's a serious incident. And you have to follow a certain protocol. You first tell the demon, you have no right to interfere with my free will. You have no right to interfere with my free will. You have no right to interfere with my free will. You have no right to interfere with my uh, past. You have no right to interfere with my past. So if you take control and say you have no right, they have to leave. If they do not, you have the right to disperse them. That's one. Now, if the demon doesn't want to disappear and feels like, oh no, this is going to be easy meat here, then for the ones who are really strong in faith, you can let them come in, but ask Spirit, the highest high, with white light and golden light to come in. And it will be first ice cold when the demon comes in, but then warm and like an explosion, because the darkest darkness, the darkest demon is also only condensed light. And when my guiding ones showed me how to do this, and they allowed this thing to come in, and I, with their help, had to disperse it, it was a revelation to me that truthfully, even the darkest darkness is only condensed light. And when we live in polarity with the positive and the negative, in this artificial theater play of life, it's just like a battery. Duality happens through polarity, like the battery which the current can run through. That's what it is for this life. And everything has its purpose for this polarity event. However, it's not a very pleasant experience, so I would not recommend anyone to do this and invite something in blindly, like what people do when they use Ouija boards. They are not preparing themselves, they are not taking any precautions, they're not setting up a space, they're not setting up boundaries, they're not putting an intention, like only the highest high comes through, they're just inviting something in. And when I have done exorcisms, mostly it was in those regards, and oftentimes there were Ouija boards involved. So warning for the ones of you who are interested in just getting information or just contacting something, I would refrain from doing it. And if only ask for something to come forth which is of the highest high. Because in one of the series I was featured in, um, it was showcasing a case I had where a young girl wanted to meet her father, and her cousin were doing the Ouija board thing, and then something else showed up which posted itself as being the father, but it wasn't. Yes, go ahead.
I have to breathe because you took me back to a lot of moments in the early days of me doing what I did. But when you said that particular show, I know what you're talking about. I know the show because I watched that show not that long ago. Again, I've seen that episode. I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I've watched that
It was Vision of Terror, a haunting vision of terror.
Yes. It's kind of interesting. When there was this gal that I'd brought on. There was this gal that I had connected with years ago over Facebook. And she wanted to know the safety protocols for using a Ouija board, and I'm like, no. She said she'd be willing to pay. Let me show her properly. I went, no, because she knew who my uncle was. My uncle was great uncle was Betharo Naro Rasmussen. Most people knew him as Biddy. I know he had a long name. He was Italian. He lived in Vatican City, Rome. He was one of those that the Vatican would call upon in time of need when it came to a very nasty evil. So when he would be waiting, there'd be years that'd go past before they'd call upon him. So he designed his own paranormal team. And I'm 23 at the time, sitting with this woman. Ironically, her name was Claudia too. It's kind of poetic. Sitting in a diner, and I says, "Okay, what is it you want from me?" She goes, "I would like to know how to use a Ouija board safely." I said, "There is no safe way. There's no way that is safe whatsoever to use one. I stay the hell away from it. It will let something in that." I go, "Okay." Let me use an example. We walked out the diner door. Mrs. followed me out the door. So we fall out the door. I go, "Now, what happens if this diner, once it closes down at 2 a.m. in the morning and they leave it open all night?" She goes, "Homeless people rob. Homeless people would come in. People come in, steal stuff." I said, "Unwanted guests, being uninvited." Goes, "So they have to lock it, bring down a steel barricade, right?" She goes, "Yes." And I go, she goes, "Oh, you're saying that's how you use Ouija boards?" Guess what? That's all she needed. And she took off, said, "I'm good, thank you." I'm like, I didn't hear from her for a great many of years. I heard from her a year ago, or heard from somebody that knew her a year ago. I don't, it was one of those cases that wish I could help more, that stayed right there on the forefront of my mind, that I've always had right here, just at an eye view of me. So you see my hand out just out of view of the camera. That's where I always kept her. Claudia White was her name. And I had heard that she had married a man named Michael O'Reilly that was Irish. I mean, the old Irish Catholic family, the true Irish Catholic, that pretty much wife mouths off to their husband. You know what I mean by true Irish Catholic. Has right to hit them type thing. Yeah. I don't agree with any of that. No. And I had heard that she was killed by him. I've heard that about a year ago, and I'm like, that she decided to go get a Ouija board and use it. And it was probably about 3, 4 months later that her husband wasn't her husband anymore. Something had taken rents. Something had taken him completely over. He was no longer there. People told her she needed to leave. He'd isolated her. He'd moved her away from her family. He'd moved her 1,000+ miles from everybody. So he isolated her. She couldn't do anything without his permission. And her sister told me all this. I was like, wow. I go, "How'd you find me?" She goes, "There was a card that said Joseph Grimm on it." She showed me on video. I was like, "Oh my God." My card used to say Joseph Grimm, spirit medium. Services range from demonic exorcism to explanation safety of what to use when not using certain items. I mean, I had a breakdown of what I did for my service. Like, I haven't seen this card in God ever. Yeah, I used to have a business card, and I looked at it and went, she goes, "Can we meet?" And I'm like, "I'm in Panama City, Florida, darling." She goes, "Well, she goes, "I'm at a place called Pier Park." I'm like, where I lived at in Panama City, all that was a bus ride away for me to go across the bridge, go a couple miles, about 15 miles out, and guess what? I'm right there at the beach. So I met with her, And for years, I'd blamed myself for not helping this woman. And it was her sister that finally helped me let go. Her sister and I were able to help her spirit move on peacefully to the other side. And it's interesting, like you say, so many things in life we go into. It's like kid getting his first car. Oh, let's go. 16-year-old boy smashes into something his first ever time. I don't care who you are. You're going to be a 16-year-old. You're going to get into a wreck. It's inevitable. I was 16, got wrecked my first time with my grandpa's GTO. Well, it was my GTO, but I had a car. I was top king. So it's interesting when we get into those spots. That was kind of poetic. Grasshopper about yay big came out of nowhere. It's one of my favorite animal creatures. It's interesting when we get into things we don't know what the hell we're doing. It's interesting how often media, movies, people in general publicize just how fun Ouija boards are, how fun paranormal investigating is, yeah, stuff like that. And it's like, do you know what you're really doing when you go into it? I've taught some paranormal classes years ago. I have a room still on Facebook. I don't use it no more. It was where I was teaching people the safe side of paranormal investigating, and I had a group I taught. And of course, you always got to have that one person that wants to go out and venture on their own. So they did, and didn't go the way they wanted it to. They didn't. It was nothing like they experienced. They remember they saw they saw the paranormal shows. They know what the hell they're doing. They saw Zach Baggins. They saw the only show that I've ever seen that three that have actually been realistic, besides the one you mentioned, would have been The Dead Files with Amy Allen. Woman phenomenal. I love Amy Allen. Uh, Paranormal State with Ryan Buell that was out of Penn State, and Ghost Investigations, the Roto-Rooter guys. Those are and next to Ed and Lorraine Warren. So you take those and put those off to the side. Those are the three realest shows I've seen because they said, look, this is not for the faint of heart. If you're going to go into this, one, have a clear head. Don't have nothing in your system. This is what Jason Howes would say on every show that he'd be like, don't have no intoxications in your system. Have a clear head when you go in. Make sure that you had at least a clear head connected to your heart or your soul at least a week or two before you actually do your first investigation. He goes, make sure you're clear headed because if you don't, you're not going to like the outcome. He wouldn't say what the outcome was because it was on TV, but then he would say it privately on his site. I've met Jason Howes, the guy that did the Roto-Rooter guys. I've met them too. And those are the real down to earth people that actually tell you, hey, look, if you're going to go into it, but do it safely. Number one rule was never go off on your own. Same thing I told my team, but I would always go off on my own because arrogant, ego, whatever it may be, I was the greatest tool that was on the team. You notice how take away greatest, notice how I say tool. Arrogant, ego. I'm a channeler, so they couldn't have my team. Two of my team members had one was a spirit medium, but they could see them. The other one could hear them. My cousin Garrett could feel them and sense them. I was the only one that could see them and hear them and physically touch and reach out and touch them in spirit form. I was the only one that could do that. So with my gifts throughout the years, each one of my family members had different gifts. What I'm about to say, it's up to you. I'd leave it in your determination if you believe it or not. But each family member, there were 7 family members that had the ability of psychometry, highly sensitive person, a Sigma Hyalka empath, or a Hyalka empath, and then a Sigma empath. Each one of them died, but before they died, they wielded me their gifts. They said, "We wield you our gift," and I was like, "Okay." I'm a kid when they first did, so I didn't believe it. Throughout the years, them gifts started becoming prominent. So I got gifts from my family members that passed away that didn't want them to die with them. So I'm overly sensitive at times, so that's why I kind of stay away from paranormal. But yet it's there. I hear it almost daily when I walk, or when I'm riding with a friend when we go past a certain area. There's a house not that far down the road that, granted, it's got people living in it, but it was one of the first places I investigated when I was 14 that's still there, and I still keep hearing that knock. It's
Yeah,
still
you
there.
see, that's the thing. I have a problem with these shows, and that's why I made the producers, and I insisted on it because some of the holding shows are, you know, shows where actors recreate the scenario. However, even then, you're recreating something and it's energetically like when you watch, Vision of Terror, the haunting show I was talking about, you get the creeps, you get excited. It's an adrenaline rush, but it's definitely inviting something in your home. So when you're looking at a lot of these haunting shows, you, through the TV, invite stuff in. People don't know that. And that's why I have actually a problem with these real haunting shows. If the show doesn't clear something, when you clear it, and I told that the producer of the show, when you not only showcase, you need to clear people's homes. So why not produce something where you're doing a clearing with the original formula? So I made the actors, I insisted, that you cannot do this if they do not use these healing or clearing formulas. And they did. The Haunting in the Heartland, the series of The Binding, they showcased the clearing, how I did it, and that was okay. And the before and after was shown, it was okay. Even though a lot of footage they didn't show, it was way more interesting than what they actually showed in that one, with this the binding there and haunting in the heartland. But nevertheless, I insisted that they, on the Vision of Terror, that they used the clearing, and people contacted me from all over the world saying, wow, we felt so much lighter after we watched the show. They were commenting. I mean, I had people from Australia contact me, and India contact me, and Austria contact me. I mean, really, the show has been so much franchised, it astounded me. But what they all were saying about is that what they heard, they felt lighter, they felt better, just because of certain formulas of frequency used and certain things spoken. For example, when you say with full consciousness and you're bringing in the light, love and light shining bright in my body and on the side, and you're repeating this while using frankincense, you can clear a house. You don't need somebody to clear it for you. That's just a tiny example, but that's one of my favorites, like love and light shining bright in my body and on the side. Very, very, very simple. And then envisioning white and gold together come flow through your body and out of your heart into the space. And that's the problem I'm having even with these shows you mentioned with Amy Emnon, and I really, really like her. I think she's tremendously gifted. But in all these shows, they're just saying that there is the spirit. The spirit is there. Oh, the spirit did this. The spirit did that. But they don't do anything about the spirit. They don't release it. They don't make it go away after the story is told, after the spirit had its say. And Amy is telling about what all went on there. The clearing is missing. And I think every single haunting show should showcase, and actually with a real formula, showcase the clearings so that the viewer doesn't just get, their adrenaline rush, but they actually have a conclusion, a closure. To me, that would be healthy in the paranormal shows, but not many paranormal shows act that way or work that way, which is, I find it a little bit sad because it really invites low vibration into your home.
Definitely love everything you're saying. It's interesting how we're getting finally touching base of where I wanted Reemergence to go. Many people have been talking. I am grateful for you being on the show so far. I'm grateful for everything you're sharing. So many people, they talk about love light. They talk about uh, the healing that they've done within. But now you see why. Because you're like me. I border both worlds. I border the normal healing world, then I border the paranormal world because that was my life for 38 years. I'm not just going to shut the door on it. I'm taking a hiatus from it. Oh, I'm coming back. I'm just taking a hiatus right now. Only one person knows when I'm coming back, and that's my son. Oh, I'm not completely retired. I'm semi-retired because if I was completely retired, door would be shut. Paranormal. I wouldn't even get into this conversation. Paranormal, but you see me getting all excited when you're talking about the paranormal the way you do it because that was my life, and that's part of me. It's like Grimm. Grimm is a nickname. That's all it is. It's not my real last name. I don't put my real last name out there in the open. It's not I'm wanted or anything. No, it's I've got family that have created chaos throughout the years. And also, as an old friend of mine used to say, Franklin O'Reilly, he was a demonic exorcist. He was a priest that did demonic exorcisms, had his own paranormal show, but he would talk about he would show how he would actually do it on the show. He would show how you close the door, how you do the healing, not just, oh, let's get this guy exercise and pull the camera away. He said, he'd be like, no, you're going to watch me with this camera the entire time, what I'm doing, so I can break it down, so you know how to fight. He goes, too many people, he was old school Irish. He'd be like, I loved what he said. He'd be like, God damn it, Joseph, too many fucking people here. They don't do it this way. They want just the light. They don't want to focus on the damn dark. It's not what he said, but more cuss words. But he wasn't your typical priest. He was an excommunicated priest that decided to do something with his gifts. Oh, they kicked him out of church. He was mad for a while, but guess what? Within 6 months, he had his own paranormal base. And now, 30 something years later, he's still doing it. He's not with us, so to speak. He decided to take a step away from the world for a while. But that's the way he taught me. He says, look, you cannot have the world of dark without light. He goes, too many, you notice how you see the light hand here in the camera. You see the dark? You don't really see my dark hand. He said, too often people are going, love and light, love and light, love and light. And he goes, too often people are like, not, you have to have that darkness. He goes, you have to have a balance. He goes, too many people that, whether they be witches, healers, whatever they be, they're too focused on the light. You can, he says, granted, light is beautiful. He goes, but you got to be willing to go into those dark places that people won't. You have to be willing to dive deep down in those holes that nobody will go to help them. He goes, there's been times show in my career that I've literally had to put myself on an astral plane and go into those darkest parts of their mind to help pull them out. And he goes, reliving some of my own traumas from him growing up in Ireland in the time of like not so good time.
Yeah, but I have to disagree there. I have to completely disagree there because, and I tell you why. Uh, re-injuring yourself by dragging old stuff up is not my cup of tea. I have to say that because I believe that we should go like a pyramid. You know, we have polarity, but then on top of the pyramid, that's where oneness is. That's where starting to operate from our soul expertise.
Okay. I'm listening still.
Not from our ego or the ducks. But the goal is to go here and up. And therefore, what we focus on gets bigger. So when we focus on our dark spots and we revel in it and bring them up and looking at it and looking at it, looking at it, we are not going anywhere. We're going there where we were. What's the point? No, we should go up, in and up, however you do it. So I have to disagree there. Yes, when something is bubbling up and you're afflicted with something, to look at it instead of ignoring it, absolutely. But not just diving in for the sakes of diving into the mud puddles. You get just dirty. What's the point? So I have to disagree on that one.
I will definitely agree with you on that one because too often I'm just moving because when they're barking and I might be able to go to my spot. Perfect. Scott, grab my. I agree with you that you can't that you should not just dive deep into the whole mud puddle. Granted, you're going to be a kid, you're going to play in the mud, but what happens when you get older and you deliberately dive into that darkness. You're, like you said priorly, you're giving that door. It's opening that door and it's allowing something to fully come in. It's allowing something to seep in that has no residence being there, no reason that it needs to be there. Because if you don't do something properly, like you said, these shows, they too often, they glorify the hunt. There's nothing wrong with paranormal investigation, but too often it's uh, glorified to be there in that dark, to be in that spot. Too often, too many people, they go into that dark spot and they stay and they can't come out.
Exactly. So one of the things which gets you out of a dark spot is stop judging yourself and others. Of course, that has nothing to do with right or wrong or discernment, but it has to do with forgiveness. And forgiveness is the first step of going and climbing the ladder. So when we take this analogy of the pyramid, when you stand on top on the bottom of the pyramid, it seems huge. And the positive and the negative are so the points of the corners of the pyramid are so far from each other. You're it's like I'll never be able to climb up there. But once you're climbing up step by step, meaning you're not looking at the right or left and saying, "Oh, this is so good," and "Oh, this is so bad." You just start climbing and focusing on the pivotal point there, on the 0 point where the pyramid top is. From there, you can see how everything is interconnected, how the whole city is connected, how the other pyramids and other scenarios are connected. From there, you can see it. From down, you cannot see anything. And that's why my guiding ones are always saying stop judging and stop complaining and start looking inward and upward. Inward and upward is the only true way to find the authentic you. And the authentic you has nothing to do with this theater play of life. This is just a show. This is just an experience. God experiences him, her, itself through the mirror. It is the particle in the kaleidoscope of existence. But for your own benefit, when you starting to resonate with your soul, that's the word soul alignment I use in my seminars, then you can rise up out of the mud puddle, out of the stinking reality of the low bottom there. Then you can go to the lofty heights where it's beautiful and it can be a totally, absolutely beautiful life. And who doesn't want to live a beautiful life? But it starts with the first step, and the first step is not judging. Not judging yourself, what happened in your history. Do something about it. Yes, cleanse and clear, but not judging anything of the circumstances, no matter what it is. I mean, when we look at the world and how horrific certain scenarios are, definitely, especially in war times, we want to judge everything and everyone. However, not to do it, but to envision these afflicted areas in a better state, to create a vision where then life can grow into that vision. That's way more becoming. And again, when we are not taking ourselves too personal and we step out of our own life sometimes and look at it, and then stepping back in after we decided not to judge, then climbing becomes easier and easier. And surrender, like your grandpa said, surrendering to the circumstance, and life can flow through us at that moment. We are not building up resistance. We are not fighting all the time. Who wants to fight all the time? Who wants to live in resistance all the time? My guiding ones say when you live in resistance all the time, you can never have the right time. You can relax. And sometimes it seems there's never the right time, and we're waiting for things to flow better. But believe me, when you never had a difficult time when you look back and say, "Yep, got it now. I need to go through this so that this and this and this could happen." So everything has its purpose. All dilemmas, how horrible they sometimes seem, have a purpose. And the non-judgment is the first step to understand the purpose. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about the, focusing on the dark. Shadow work is wonderful, but in small portions, in easily digestible portions, and not to wallow in it to say, see how I suffered? Oh, I suffered so much. Pity party, pity party. Oh, I am so poor me. I am so miserable in my life. Yeah, but what about you as a co-creator? Every thought creates form. Oh, how nice.
That's one of the cats here. Right.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Uh,
go.
so when you then realize that you're a co-creator, your soul creates with you, your higher self creates. So when you start looking at that and looking the power you really have and wanting to step into that power, that means aligning with your soul. And if you don't do that, you're totally victimizing yourself constantly because you see yourself as victim. And when you see yourself as victim, you're victimizing yourself in the process over and over and over and over by focusing on the negative. So, yes, as when we say light workers, oh, just love and light and so on. Yes, there's darkness, but then there's focus out of here, to get us out of the polarity effect and to honor the experience we have in the process. That's my take on it. What do you think?
I love everything you had to say. I love the whole how you're talking about do focus on the dark, but not wallow in it. Because I've met a lot of light workers recently that, first of all, I don't want to be dismissive of anything you shared. Mind blowing. That's why I'm sitting here. Anytime I've talked to you on the phone or here, or it's the first time we've done this, but anytime I've talked to you on the phone, you notice I sit there quietly and I'm listening. There's very few people I sit and quietly listen to without having to chime in right away. You're one of the few. And it's interesting how you talk about the love and light, but there's oftentimes that people, these light workers, that they're like the goody two shoe light workers, don't want to touch the dark. They're like, it's like they only want to focus on the light, not judging anybody. What I'm about to say, my ex wife, not judging her at all, showing you how she has, she's, if there could be such category as an HHSP, I mean, highly, highly sensitive person. She's overly sensitive to energy, not, oh my God, not flips out, but I mean, I'll give an example. I was sitting in a motel called the Leo Motel, I think it is, or Lions Motel or something. Leo Motel, I think it was, because it was when I was homeless on the streets in Bellingham, Washington. I met a guy. He says, "Hey, anytime you want to come in here, sit in the lobby, charge you can stay here all night if you want to. Because you fall asleep, you fall asleep." It's like, okay, thank you. So I went and sat there and charged. She texts me and goes, "Where are you?" I'm like, real demanding. I'm like, hun, I love you, but that's a little demanding. She goes, you're in an area where there's a not so nice energy, are you not? I'm like, I knew about this much of the history of the motel. I knew very, very little about it. I just knew it was kind of cool looking. I knew it was absolutely phenomenal looking, but I didn't realize the back dark history of it. She, the instant I'd only been there like 2 minutes, and she called in and finally called me on. And says, "I need you to step out of the building where you're at so I can talk to you on video." I'm like, "Okay, sure." I step out. She goes, "Before I contact you, at least get a couple blocks." Where I'm like, "Okay." So I load up my bag, load up all my gear, and I walk 2 blocks away and I go sit at a park. And she goes, "Okay." My first thing is, "What were you in?" And I got to a point where I turned the camera and showed her. She goes, "Get away from there. I don't want you back there anymore." She goes, "Because whatever was in there was messing with me," because she had a deadline to do for her program she was launching. She couldn't focus while I was in there. As soon as I left, she was just fine. She is highly sensitive to energy. She's a master Reiki healer, an intuitive life coach, spirit medium.
Yeah, but then has she not learned to set boundaries in her office or around her and in her energy field? When you're doing this sort of work, that's the first thing. That's why in module one, showing people the golden light meditation, which I mentioned at the very beginning of your show, because that's the foundation stone. A, to connect with spirit, but B, having a golden light bubble around you so that low vibrations can get burned off on the outer rim. I mean, yes, you guys are connected. You guys have a sensitivity point, and she could feel probably something through the energy connection there with you. But nevertheless, she should be able then to say, okay, enough is enough. I cut this energy off right now, and I'm burning it off with the golden light bubble. So, light workers, sometimes they wanna, and I'm not saying this about your wife, don't get me wrong. I don't know your wife. I don't, know her name. I don't know. I'm sure she does glorious work, but that is
don't know any
always the
worse.
first, yeah, but that is always the first thing that you learn to safeguard yourself when you're doing this sort of work. I'll give you an example. I had a lady, she was so eager to channel, and she came to me for reading, and she said, oh, and you know what? I can channel now. I said, okay, bring it on. And so she uh, said she channeled Jesus. And from, again, the judgmentalness, what came out of that channeling, I thought, you mind if I ask the channel some questions, And she said, sure. And of course, I asked the question I usually do with spirit, and came to be she was in Mexico on vacation, and she had picked up a spirit of somebody who was called Jesus and had recently died, and realized she could see and sense him. And so he hooked right in because she wanted to channel so bad out of ego without precautions.
The universe gave her exactly what she wanted.
And, that what you humble with. You have to protect your energy. You have the right to protect your energy. Your energy is given to you, not to be leaked at or sucked from just because you're an empath. Yeah, when you're an empath, and I'm a soul empath, when I do past life regression, I can tune into people and see through their eyes where they're going and what happened in that lifetime. That's a really interesting gift. But nevertheless, I always safeguard my sessions so that these things cannot be disrupted or come in. So I'm surprised that somebody doesn't do that.
I love everything you're sharing, and I agree. She, before me, was with another life coach, a healer that could bend elements and do all sorts of things, but he kept trying to push her gifts down. So when I got with her, I helped her open up her psychic ability, which may not have been, which was a good thing, but at the same time, she didn't have those safeguards, as you said, because what was ironic is she comes from a line of women that are warriors, comes from a line that her mother's still in this, when her mother was still alive. Her mother was a spiritualist. Her mother was a guardian of nature, guardian of knowledge, guardian of warrior of the planet, basically. Her and her sisters. Her mother's bloodline go all the way back, a long distance, a long ways, to protecting nature, protecting people, humanity, raising vibrations. And Jolene hadn't tapped into that yet. So I got to a point where I could actually channel her mother. Wasn't trying to, it just kind of happened. And then what was interesting is there was a spirit that came through that claimed to be her grandfather. You remember how a spirit can claim to be anybody? And it got to a point where I described one of her ancestors perfectly from a T, from head to toe. And I might have well, I'll say I may have fallen victim to that spirit without even realizing the safeguards that I had taught her, and kind of tossed them out the window, channeled the spirit for her. But after I left her, I discovered the more I channeled the spirit, the more access it gave it to her, because it couldn't tap her because she was protected. She had a shield around her of sorts. It could use me to get to her. And I didn't think much of it at the time, but after her and I left, I had a friend that is a very powerful medium. Most people commonly know him as David Starr, if you know that name. David Starr is a very powerful. He's a very powerful handler of like the Arcturian, the Galactic Council, basically. There's too much to mention on him, so I asked him to point me in the direction of where to go because he was busy dealing with projects. So he usually charges to do his channeling. He says, "I'll do it for you since you're concerned about her." And this is after we broke up. He said, "I keep." He goes, "Everything appears good." He goes, "But something about this man in this bowler cap, black suit," and he's describing him, and I'm like, I never mentioned the man in the bowler cap. He said he calls himself Pocket Watch, and I'm like, So I knew that he was on something, so I contacted a female friend of mine that was a psychic, and she said, "Look, this spirit that claims to be our uncle, it's not." She goes, "It's whispering in her ear. That's what played a role in your guys' breakup. That's what played a role in all this stuff that's been happening." Yeah, it took advantage of her, and I'm like, I may have been at fault for that. She goes, "How?" I said, "Because I channeled the spirit for her. I was the only one that could." Sorry, dog came running over. I was the only one that could channel it, and she goes, "Joe, that's not good that you allowed it in." But she goes, "I understand you kind of." I go, "Kind of what?" She goes, "Sometimes even with your gift of channeling, you don't always see the spirit until it's what the actual spirit is until it's too late." And that's because she hadn't heard from any of her family. She'd been one channel her mom, somebody from her family for a while, and I came into play and gave her what she
The
saw,
thing is,
and it was at what cost?
yeah, the thing is, what I teach my students is to ask questions, you know, are you a guide? Yes or no? Are you an ancestor? Yes or no? Are you, you know, what is your purpose? What are you supposed to do for me, support me with, and teach me? To asking direct questions to a spirit and not just let it infiltrate. And also teach my students to put on chairs in a certain room, and there's a guest chair, but a certain panel of chairs are only for the guides. And nobody else has the right, the boundaries are set to sit there except the guides. So if then somebody shows up in spirit or channeling sessions or whatnot, they have to be energetically, symbolically represented on the guest chair. And then you ask that spirit, who are you, what you're doing, why you're here, and you're asking direct questions. That's one of my biggest things I want students to learn before they just wildly channel something. Ask, who is it, what for, and why you're here, and really, feel on the truth, so to speak, of that spirit, so that they are not just wildly getting a hang.
Interesting part. Thank you for sharing all that. I didn't put the chair, but her and I asked the right questions, and I could identify that it was the spirit of her great uncle from England because I was alive with him when he was alive in that time period in like the 1800s, 1900s. I was alive with him at the time. So I knew who he was. So he had all the right knowledge, but what he failed to tell her back in that lifetime when we lived, we were part of a group. You've seen the movie Hellboy, right?
Yeah.
What they called the Bureau of Paranormal. What the hell? Basically, the government has a real thing. The English government has had a real thing for over 400 plus years. It's called the Bureau of Paranormal Antiquities, is what it's called. And him and I were part of that back in the day. It still exists, but it's not one of those that you just go, "Hey, no." they're a very select group of people. They go out and they find objects, or they'll bring in objects that are too dangerous for the common people. Kind of like the show Warehouse 13, where they find these objects that have got bad stuff tied to them. They lock them up. That's what the Bureau does still to this day. Her uncle and I were, her great uncle or great great uncle or something, him and I were part of it back in the day. We were the first early agents. We wore bowler. We had specific outfits so you'd know who we were. We had bowler cap, like the bowler cap, dress suit, cane, umbrella. Yeah. So we stood out. We were on an investigation back in the day, and some of his family was dying of a disease that doctors couldn't find and couldn't find a cure for. So we had access to a paranormal vault. I knew better, but I was his understudy. I would have been like Star Wars. I would have been his Padawan. He was my teacher. So going against our greater judgment, we went and grabbed an object that would give his family safety for generations to come. But there's a kicker. He had to give up his humanity. He had to give up his soul, everything that he was, just for him to stand by the family. But guess what? The kicker of it was it made him dark. Every next generation that would come, it would take that much more out of him. Oh, it was her uncle. It was her great great uncle, but it wasn't who he used to be.
Yeah.
So that is with her. The thing is still attached to her bloodline, attached to her specifically. And I tried everything I could to get this thing away from her. And the day that I
Well,
had
then I
the day I had
so
it figured out what I was going to do, she called our relationship off,
mm,
because that was the day that I was actually going to enact this plan to see him, rip him away. And it was the last week of our marriage that we were spiritually married. The last week of our relationship basically was doing this off and on to each other, nitpicking the crap out of each other over nothing. And it got to a point she goes, "Look, I'm done." There was several things that played a role in it, but it was like crap. So I still have all this stuff that I've put together, all this research I've done how to stop him. And every time I've
yeah, but
tried to,
there is a very simple solution. Sorry to interject here, but there's a very simple solution. For those kind of cases, I always recommend to do a family constellation session. Bert Hellinger, who's dead now, a former Catholic priest, who
oh,
then denounced being a priest and married and created and founded the family constellations. And what a family constellation therapist does is they open up a field of love and truth like a stage energetically. And then in a group session, if you have a problem, you choose somebody from the group as a representative to represent you. And then, for example, parents or whoever, or then even that uncle. And so that uncle would have gotten a voice, and the therapist would be able then to heal the dynamic or clear the scenario or block that uncle off out of the family lineage if there is no kind of healing possible. That happens rarely, but mostly there are certain healing sentences where certain things can be reversed, people get be acknowledged, they can be brought back to the fold in a good way, and themes can be worked on beautifully. So if there's certain unresolved issues, I always would recommend to do a family constellation. There are some tiny little booklets on Bert Hellinger. You can download it or buy it on Amazon. There's one which is only $10. I don't know exactly the title, something about how to do family constellations. And it's very, very thin, easy read, but it talks about all these family and family patterns people have. And yes, I've seen that too, that sometimes somebody shows up in one of my sessions without me doing a medium session, and I can see that there is somebody who is not as well meaning from the ancestors, and that they have a beef with the family dynamic and needs to be cleared. And once we clear that, then the person, and I don't do family constellation, I do a version of it, but more on a psychic medium style. And then once we clear it, the person who is my client feels lighter, and that spirit feels better too. Because there's always a cause for everything. There's a cause and effect. And when we look at the cause, we can look at solutions, not before. So there's always needs to be an interaction. Why this person showed up, why this person needed her attention, why this person tries to influence her and maybe other generation. So when we look at the whys and we are finding solutions in a way, then everyone can get freed. So I do not believe that there is a cannot do anything about it. One can always do something about things. There is always one way or another a solution. And in your case, how you describe it, I would do a family constellation.
Her and I are no longer together. We no longer talk. We got to a point. I just pay her the money every month that I owe her. That's it. We don't talk at all. Our conversation is short. Did you get the money I sent you? Her name. Her name's Jolene. Jolene, did you get the money I sent you? Yep. Thank you, Joe, for being a man of your word. That's the whole conversation. Then 30 days go past. We don't say nothing.
Well,
I
as your show is also for other people and not for her and you, I wanted to mention it because people might be in a similar scenario or have experienced similar things. And that's why that would be, for me, a solution. Whether it's in your case applicable because you're not talking with her anymore is on another story. I just wanted to put it out there for the greater good.
I appreciate that for the greater good. I'm taking it to mental notes, and then what I'm going to do is once the show's done, because my phone's starting to go a little low in power now, but I can do a few more moments. And what I'm going to do is once you send me the show, is I'm going to put that and I'm going to go back and rewatch it and write down all the key notes that you said, and definitely put it in my brown journal I have. I call it my Grimm wall, my book of shadows, because I'm first and foremost Buddhist, but I am do Native American shamanism, Druidism, paganism. I also do Hawaiian spiritualism. So I keep a book of shadows, a spell book, as they say. It's not a spell book. What I do is I keep notes in it. And it was a spell book years ago, but what I turned it into is just my keynotes, things I use to do my practices, my healing modalities. And I can say I have some more to add to that from definitely a very beautiful light being in the field, such as yourself. I had fun the other night on a cast, but this one's actually a lot funner because you've done both roles. You've done the regular healing role, you've done paranormal. So I can relate with you a little bit more than I can with my first two guests I've had because you've a jack of many trades, as they say, when it comes to that role.
Thanks. Yeah, and
It,
talking about roles, right now I'm working on a third one. I'm working on alchemizing people's careers. Everyone needs a purpose. And what I found in my practice that so many people come to me and they feel empty, they feel hollow, and some of them start job hopping. But that's not the solution. The solution is actually just look what are your talents. Everyone has God-given gifts and talents. They are very unique. And once you know which they are or what they are, then you can alchemize your career and maybe in your same job arena, utilize these talents for a different job description. So I teach people how to not just live with power, but to live power with purpose. And I point people to their purpose, and a lot of people don't even know about their specific talents. So that's a very interesting journey. So I created right now alchemizedcareer.com, and I'm working on the program. The program is 8 intense weeks where people let go of the golden shackles and find the gold in their career, in their purpose, and in their power, full alignment with their spirit purpose. That's another head I'm just putting on right now. And I find it very satisfying to see that people get so much joy out of their life after the program. Anyway, it was wonderful. You said your battery is low. It was wonderful to be on your show and to have this conversation. Maybe we can repeat it in another time and dive deeper in whatever theme you see fit. So thank you so much for having me.
it's been an honor, definitely having you on here. It has been an honor. Wow, it's like I said a few years ago, I stumbled upon you, and I guess the universe wasn't ready to have me truly meet you yet. It was about 5 years ago I stumbled upon you, and I
Well,
wasn't ready.
it was wonderful to be here and to dive into some of the things which make life easier, and to look at the things which didn't make life easy. But we can overcome all this. We can go to the top of the pyramid. We can live in oneness and wholeness. At least that's my perspective. So thank
That's
you again for having me.
You're welcome. It's my perspective as well to go up, not down.
Exactly.
Go forward, not back.
Right. Okay. Thanks again, and bye-bye.
Bye bye.